And we are live. This is SD Spooky Adventures. I'm Debbie Duncan, and I'm going to go ahead and give Janine the broadcast right now so she can introduce our guest.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ghostly Tales with Debbie and Janine. Tonight, we do have a special guest, Dan, on tonight to talk about Bigfoot. So, Dan, go ahead and tell our guests about yourself.
I guess I've kind of had a Bigfoot experiences my whole life, one way or another, from the time I was a kid. I had my first major experience where it was like full-on sighting when I was 18, and then I kept it inside for years and years and years and never said anything about it. Finally got involved with the Bigfoot community around 2010, 2011, and around that time, the Melba Ketchum thing was going, the DNA testing, and I was sure that it was going to get out and they were going to be named. And I said I better get my stories out now while I can. So I just started a YouTube channel and started telling my stories. And after that, I got hooked up with my buddy Ed Brown, and we started doing. He started being the interviewer, and we interviewed a bunch of famous people in the Bigfoot community, like a lot of them. And it's all on my channel, on the Bigtruth YouTube channel that I started back in the day. And then, I started the Facebook page, and basically I treated it like a newspaper. Bigtruth isn't just a name. Bigtruth is a philosophy. It's like everything that I do. I'm not trying to prove that anything that I think is right. I'm just trying to find what the truth is, basically. And I treated my page always like a newspaper or something. I try to use journalistic standards and, honesty and truth. And, of course, there's stuff that slips through on a Bigfoot page where people think it's stupid or whatever, but you try to, look through everything first before you post it, and just try to have some integrity and bring some integrity to the field, and that's another thing that I've always tried to do, is just bring some integrity to the field along with personal experiences. I've also tried to follow the scientific method a lot. And a lot of that is even not doing it well, but doing it good enough that if I ever did find something real good, I could call in Dr. Meldrum or Cliff Rockman, and, I'd be taken seriously. So there's a lot of different angles to this, a lot of different things. People don't necessarily believe stories all the time. And that's how I got into this, because I had just like an incredible Bigfoot story. And, it's just gone on from there. More recently, I've been involved with a investigation out in Colorado that is just all kinds of different paranormal stuff. It's not just, there is Bigfoot involved, but also aliens and human spirits and all kinds of stuff going on. So I ended up getting a lot of experience in things that I didn't necessarily want to. I kind of just fell into it.
Well, we have some experiences like that, don't we, Janine?
Sure do.
Lots of spirits and things like that. I think everybody would love to hear about maybe your first sighting.
Okay. So I was 18 years old, and I was hanging out with my buddy, about 16. And there was this one bridge in Upper Lake, California. It's in Northern California, probably 100 miles as the crow flies from San Francisco. It's in the coastal range. It's not out in the valley or nothing. There's lots of mountains all around. And so we were just hanging out. There was a spot in town where all those kids would just show up, on the daily, just trying to find other friends or, find some trouble, whatever. And so we were just sitting there all alone, my buddy and I, Michael. And I had a buddy, Les, who had this Jeep, really old Jeep, like an old Army Jeep. And he comes pulling up, and he had two girls in the Jeep with him. And he's all, "We're going to go to Pinnacle Rock. You want to go?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, I love Pinnacle Rock." He says, "But we don't have any headlights." And I mean, I'd seen him just a couple nights before that. He drove up there with only one headlight. So I believed him when he said he had no headlights. So he said, "We're going to stay the night." And I'm like, "That's fine. I'd like to stay the night up there. That's fine." And so my buddy, Michael, like I say, he was only like 16. So we had to stop by his grandma and grandpa's house and see if he could go. And he comes running out. Yeah, I can go, you know. And so we all go headed up there to Pinnacle Rock. And, you know, we're just, Les was like a year older than me. So he was probably 19. And I know the one girl, Susan, was his age also. She was also a year older than me. And the other girl was from a different town. I didn't know her, and I can't remember her name to save my life. But anyway, so we go up to Pinnacle Rock, and it's way up on the mountain. And then you got to follow this old fire trail for probably a quarter mile. And there's big humps of dirt and stuff. So we had to go up over with the Jeep. And so we get up there, and I'd been there several times before. And I knew that the road ended just maybe 100 yards down the road from there. And it was like a cul-de-sac almost, where it broke out of the trees, and it was a big wide open spot, but it was like a dead end, like a cliff, you know, right there. And it was a totally different view than Pinnacle Rock. So when we got there, I was like, let's go up here, you guys, and check this out. And everybody's like, no, let's just go up to Pinnacle Rock. And I was like, no, I want to go over here. It's really cool. So I go all by myself, and I said, I'm just going to go. I'll be right back. So I go to the end of the road there, and when I got away from everybody, I started having this feeling of being watched. And I was like, damn, what the hell, you know? And I keep on going. And I thought for sure that it was my friends messing with me. Like they were trying to, you know, screw with me or something, because I'd gone off by myself. So I'm just going down the road, and I'm like, damn. And I get to the end of the road, and the whole time it felt like somebody was watching me. And I'm just looking at the view, and I say, I'm going to catch him. I mean, it got so strong, I could feel that somebody was back there. And I used to play basketball and stuff. I was kind of an athlete. I was quick. So I loaded up, and I spun around really fast, just spun around all the way around. And when I did, I saw something jump behind the bushes, and I see this hair go like lateral sideways as this thing jumps off. And it's like 6-7 feet at least tall, whatever it was. And it just, all I saw was hair going behind the bushes. And I was just like, and it's the funniest thing. Your brain always tries to put it in a box, something, you know. So all I could think of was that it was a bear. And I was just like, oh, shit. And I started walking back, and I knew better than to run from a bear. So I was just like Olympic walking, like really super fast back to the rock. And the whole time, oh my God, the hair was standing up on the back of my neck, and the goosebumps all over, and my head tingling, and it just felt like somebody was right there watching me. And I get to where the rock is, and it's an old fire lookout. So there was actually stairs up the side of it that are like made out of the rock and cut out of the rock. So you walk right up and around to the top of the rock. And I get up there, and I said, I think I saw a bear. And the first thing Les says is, was it the monkey man? I said, no, man, it was a bear. I'm pretty sure it was a bear. And I said, it scared the shit out of me, but I didn't see it. You know, when I walked by, I totally looked where it was, and I didn't see anything. And he's all, but it was probably the monkey man. I was all, no. And he starts telling us about Bigfoot, all of us that were there. And apparently he had spent some time up in the woods. So he already knew that they throw pine cones at you, and they throw rocks, and they do this whooping, like whoop, whoop. And we're all like thinking he's nuts. You know, none of us had heard any of this. All we knew at that time was in search of, like an upright ape walking around. So we're like, you know, saying, no way, dude. And he's all, no, seriously. And like I say, he was telling us stories about having pine cones thrown at him and stuff. And so we're sitting there on top of the rock, and all of a sudden Les jumps up, and me and Michael and the two girls were all watching out to Clear Lake where I lived. And it was just real pretty. You know, you could see the lake down below us, and Les was facing us, telling us these stories as we're all sitting on top of the rock. And he goes jumping up and ran past us, and he said, did you see it? Did you see it? And we're all, no, see what? He goes, there was a little one. It looked up on the back of the rock and was looking at us. And then when I saw it, it ducked down. And when I got to the back of the rock, it was scurrying down the backside of the cliff and going around the side. And we're just like, no way. Cause we knew it was like a sheer cliff on the backside of that thing. Like it's like 100 feet down. It's like no person could have done anything like that. And we're like, no way. And he's like, I swear it happened. And we're all laughing, going, come on, Les, you know, and we didn't believe him, or at least I didn't. So we go down, and he says, we better start a fire, because by now it's already starting to get dark. So we go down there and everybody runs around and gets a little bit of wood here and there. And I'm sorry, I'm shaking a little bit. It's kind of cold in here. I'm in my roommate's room. He's in there watching the game in the other room. But anyway, all right, where was I at? So, okay, check this out. Before we went to go try to start a fire, and this little thing goes down the backside of the rock. We heard something go down this back of the mountain, and it was like shale rock. It like makes a bunch of noise, and you would slide down if you're trying to get down it, and really steep. And so something went down there, and we're like, what the heck was that? And then he grabs this rock and he throws it off the back. And this rock goes like way, way, way down the hill. This is like 1,000 feet down, almost straight down, all the way to the bottom. You can hear this rock. And then he throws another rock and it goes down a ways and it hits a tree and it's like, bam. And then he throws another rock, and altogether probably threw about 6 or 8 rocks down the mountain, listening to him go. And then after that, we decided we needed to go start a fire. So we're running around and getting a bunch of firewood, about 10 minutes. And we get back there. And I mean, it's not like what you think of firewood. It was like big pieces of like big old branches and stuff. So we get over there and me and Les try to start a fire. And we didn't have no lighters or nothing. And Les had a book of matches with like 4 matches. We're like, oh my gosh. And just a couple little pieces of like just garbage from wrapping from food or whatever. And so we have just a little tiny bit of paper stuff and just a couple matches. And he gets the first match and he strikes it and he puts it down there and it goes out. And it says, oh no. And then he strikes a second match and he goes down there and it just starts to light just a little bit and it starts to go and then it goes out. And we're like, oh, and then right about then, this big freaking rock just hits about 10 feet away and it rolled right at our feet. And I'm talking about a rock, like a big egg-shaped rock, probably about 40 or 50 pounds.
Wow. And
it just came out of nowhere. He's all, where'd that come from? And the first thing I said was, maybe it came off of, the rock, because we were down below the rock making the fire, but we were down a ways down the road, or down the ways down the hill. And he said, there's no way that could have fell from there. It would have fell way up the hill. And I'm just like, I don't know, man, because like I was saying, I wasn't really believing his stories and stuff. I really didn't believe, I was still thinking maybe I saw a bear and I didn't know anything else after that. So we're just like, I don't know. And we get down there and sure enough, the second to the last match, we got that fire going. So we have this fire and we get the fire going good. And we're all standing around the fire. And all of a sudden, Les goes, quit throwing freaking rocks. And he didn't say freaking, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And we're all laughing at him going, dude, what? And he's all, they throw rocks. And I swear, I just got hit with a little rock. And we're like, no way. And then he got hit again. And he's all, I said, quit throwing freaking rocks. And we're all just, Les, you got to quit. And he's like, I swear to God, I got hit with a rock. And as he's talking to us, a rock hits the ground and rolls right by the fire. And we all see it. And we're just like, whoa,
Yep. Yeah.
And about that time, it got kind of serious. We're like,
yeah.
Wow. And all of a sudden, my friend Michael got hit with a little rock and he freaked out. He was like waving his arms and jumping and going, oh my God, I just got hit by a rock. And then we knew it wasn't just Les. Michael goes over and picks up a rock and throws it back the direction where he thought it came from. And then another rock comes flying back over. And then Les went over there with him. After a couple times, he picked up a couple rocks and Les got up and went over there. And the two of them started throwing rocks back and forth with these Bigfoot for what seemed like hours. It was probably only 10 or 15 minutes, but it was like being in a war or something. I know what they must feel like. You can't run away. You'll get killed. You can't, there's nothing you can do. You're just like stuck there. And I was begging Les to go down the hill and get the heck out of there. And by then it was already dark. And he wouldn't do it with no headlights. And I was like, I'll lead us. I'll walk in front of the Jeep and make sure we're okay and everything, you know. And he's all, nope, I am not doing it. So we were stuck there. And the girls were freaking out. So I was just like trying to console the girls. And this went on and on and on. They're throwing rocks back and forth. And all of a sudden they saw one of them. They're like, oh my God, did you see it? Yeah, I saw it. And they said it looked like about a 12-year-old boy, like a little one.
Yeah.
And then they kept on throwing rocks back and forth. And just a couple minutes later, Michael, he turns and he runs like sideways and backwards at the same time. And he's yelling, twins, twins. And Les saw it too. And apparently there was another one, just like the 12-year-old looking one. And they saw them both on either side of this bush throwing rocks at the same time at them. And me and the girls, we didn't see them, you know, but we were taking their word for it because we could definitely see the rocks coming. You know what I mean? And it was traumatic. It was like, what the hell is going on? And when is it going to stop? You know, so finally it stops. And we all get around the fire. And I was sitting next to Susan, and we were all, you know, spread out around the fire. And Les goes and kicks, there was a big log in the fire, and he kicks it. And if you've been around campfires, you know that it'll light up the place and the sparks fly in the air, you know, if you rile up the fire. And that happened. And Susan goes, oh my God. And I said, I see it too. And we both saw this huge Bigfoot, only like 30 feet away, standing next to this tree looking at us. And when it saw that we saw it, it goes, and it just went right behind the tree. And he made like that, like the old Indian mask that you've seen of Bigfoot. It was like, I've been caught. And man, but I swear, I mean, it was only, I saw him for, I don't even know how long it was, 2 seconds maybe. I saw this thing, and I will never, ever forget. And I couldn't even tell you what it looked like from here down, from, you know, the chest down, because I was just like fixed on its face for that couple seconds. And it was looking back at me, and oh my gosh. And I didn't know what it was. I did not know it was Bigfoot because it looked like a wild man. It looked a lot more human than ape, for one thing. And I was like, what the hell, you know, and to me, it looked like it was kind of a Native American. And I say that because of the beard pattern more than anything. You know, it had kind of a sketchy mustache, you know, like Oriental people sometimes, or natives sometimes will have more of a sketchy mustache, and just like mutton chops right here, not a big full beard at all. It was more sketchy, just like, and not like a full goatee even, you know, and it had a big wide nose. And I mean, just like everybody describes, big, real thick brow, deep set eyes, you know, set wide apart. I mean, it just had a big structured face, you know.
Can I ask, did it have a smell?
I didn't smell a thing.
Okay. And
that's not uncommon either. In all of my experiences, there's only been a few times where I've actually smelled anything. And I know for a fact I've, you know, seen them and been around and had them, you know, right near me and not smelled them. And I've also smelled different smells. You know, there's a classic that I've smelled a couple times. It's like garbage, rotten meat, BO, real bad, like body odor. And I've smelled that a couple times, that same smell. And then there was one time I smelled it smelled more like a wet dog or a young horse. And I was right by a river, and I actually think that one of them was in the water, you know, right before it went by me or something, and it was wet because it was a musky, you know.
Could I ask you about your book? Those stories in your books, are they just yours, or did you gather stories from other people?
No, the Northern California Sasquatch stories, a couple of those are my own stories, but a lot of them are from friends and people that I talked to, because way back in the day, you know, I opened up to a couple people here and there, and they all had their own stories being in Northern California around there. And one girl, Krista in particular, she has her cousins, and, you know, her whole family is Native American, and they live up a lot of them live up on the Covelo Reservation, where I don't know if you're familiar with Northern California at all, but it's really, really desolate out in the middle of the country, out in the middle of the mountains. And it's called Round Valley is where it is. And it's classic. And I've got some really good stories from her, which one of them is just pretty incredible. I got to tell you real quick. There's a guy, her uncle, and he was in a town called Ukiah. It's probably about 60 or 80 miles away. And he was working there. And when he got off work, he went and he got a keg for this party. And there was a big party that was going on for a wedding or something. And he was supposed to pick up this keg. So he gets he's heading down the road to go back to Covelo. And it's along the Eel River and real steep mountains and real curvy road. And he's getting up there past the Eel River and going on the mountain. And all of a sudden his little truck is going all over the road. And he's just like, what in the heck? And he looks in the rearview mirror and he sees some big hairy thing on the back. And it looked like it was hunched over his tailgate and punching it like that. And he didn't know what the hell it was. And he worked really hard at shaking it off. And eventually he did. He shook it off the back of his truck. And he gets to this party and he gets there and he didn't want to say anything to anybody. And he just gets there and he closes the door on the truck and he just walks inside. And I think it was his sister or something was right there. And she's all, what's wrong? And everybody around, what's going on? What's wrong? Because they could just tell by the look on his face that something had gone wrong. And he didn't want to tell him. And then somebody comes in from outside and they're all, hey, I can't remember his name, Jimmy or something like that. Hey, Jimmy, what happened to your tailgate?
Oh my gosh.
And everybody goes outside and this tailgate is all dented in, like from the inside out. And it was like the shape of a huge fist hitting it. And so then he went ahead and told him the story. And then, what's really cool is I became friends with this group on Facebook, and it was a Native American group that was centered around Covelo. And a lot of the members were from there. Somebody popped in and said, I remember the Bigfoot truck. That guy drove that truck for 20 years like that all around town.
Oh my gosh. I think that's so cool.
Isn't that great?
Wow. What is your sense, Dan, of the creatures? Do they, friendly? They get angry like humans or just want to be left alone? Is there any sense of friendly or foe?
I think they get used to you over time. They learn to trust you over time. Like me, they didn't throw rocks or anything for a long time. And I kept going to the same place. And I'd find these cool structures and find footprints, I'd find evidence, but nothing ever happened, And then eventually they started throwing rocks. And I don't think it was so much aggression as just saying, here I am, or just, it's distraction a lot of times. They do it to distract you. And I'll hear something and start going towards the sound, and then a rock will come. And we're such stupid humans. We always go, oh, where's the rock? Where's the rock? Oh, there it is. And we're sitting here looking at this rock while whatever's going on, they get away, or they're doing what they're getting away. And, I have this philosophy that if you start having rocks thrown, you should just keep going, doing what you're doing, just go in a straight line, and you're bound to run right into them. But it never works out in the field when you're with people. You plan this, and in the heat of the moment when stuff starts happening, it's just like everybody thinks they're going to get a picture or whatever. And I would go out there and have my eye camera running almost continually the whole time, But then the couple times that I have caught a glimpse out there, of course, I didn't have a camera running. And
that's the way it always is.
Yeah, and there's just no possible way to get it out and get it turned on and get it focused on anything. If anybody ever catches Bigfoot on camera, it's pretty damn lucky, and you can see why they're always blurry, because for one, people don't realize when you're seeing a picture of a Bigfoot or something, it's probably zoomed in from a much bigger picture. And when you zoom into just a little object way in the back of a picture, of course, the pixels become a lot less per your screen, and it becomes blurry and fuzzy, and you don't see the detail nearly as good. And one of the things that people should know if they're out in the field trying to get evidence, don't zoom in when you're out in the field, because you're losing pixels when you do that. You need to keep it the full picture, and then during editing, you can get in there and you can blow it up, and you're going to get a better picture of what you blow up that way than if you try to zoom in on it. You're going to see it better in person yourself, but you're going to end up with a better picture if you don't try to zoom out in the field.
Great tip for sure. Even with the paranormal investigations, it's very similar. You want to just take the photo as is and then enlarge later.
I know that we're running out of time, Janine. Gosh, Dan, this has been so fantastic. And, there's so much credible evidence, real evidence out there that Bigfoot is a real thing. And I'm really glad that people are going out there to find out. A little bit of me wants them to be safe and from the humans.
Right.
We don't do things, you can just see all our movies. We never do things right.
Right.
I just want them to make sure that they are safe and their families get to stay together and all of that.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm sure many of our viewers have probably had their own possible Bigfoot sightings. I know growing up in San Diego, we have Proctor Valley, and I've had a scary experience out there that we didn't get to see what was chasing us, but whatever it was really big. So, we would love to have a part 2 on Bigfoot for sure, to hear some more of your stories, maybe get some of our viewers on to share their stories as well.
Oh, that sounds great. You haven't even scratched the surface. I just barely told you anything.
I know.
Yeah.
We're so excited.
So, yeah, I'd be more than happy to come on anytime.
Well, we appreciate that. A big deal. I know a lot of our viewers are into the paranormal and not just ghosts. We're all into aliens and Bigfoot and cryptids and everything else that could be out there.
Yeah.
So definitely want to touch bases on all of that. But we will definitely have to get you rescheduled for another episode.
All right. Yeah, we can dip into the paranormal a little or something, because that's what I've been running into.
Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, I can't wait. But it is time to say goodbye, you guys. And so everybody, if you go to Facebook or YouTube, it's Bigtruth. And Dan's name's right there. It's Lindholm. And do check out his book on Amazon. And where else is it?
Kindle.
Yeah,
where you can get the ebook.
Wonderful. So Northern California Sasquatch Stories.
Right.
So,
and I have another book called The Wild Boy of Kentucky, which is also an excellent read. It's really good. It's small. It's almost like a kid's book, because I never got the full story, because the poor guy that was telling me the story died in hospice care while he was telling me the story.
Oh, you know what? I did see that on Amazon, and I wasn't prepared to go ahead and grab it, but next time you come on, we'll have the pictures of them and the links.
Awesome. Sounds great. All right. Well, thanks a lot for having me on, guys.
Thank you, Dan. Janine,
thank you, everybody, for joining us. Sorry?
I sending it over to you to say goodbye.
Yep. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for another episode of Ghostly Tales with Janine and Debbie. Big thank you to Dan for coming on tonight. Definitely, we will have him back. Don't forget that we will be back next Sunday at 6:30 p.m. Have a great night.